Righto, Hoyne, let's kick it off with your overall observations, and at this stage it's focusing on one man.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was appropriate that the observation for the round changed at about 9:30 this morning when the news came through that Dusty has retired. So we thought that we'll make the overall observation a celebration of the great man and actually just take a bit of time to go through what he has done from a numbers perspective over his 15-year career.
And you've also, for a bit later in the program, struck a medal.
We have. We'll keep that a little bit dry. That's a little bit later on, but we'll introduce a new medal that hopefully might take off
which over celebrating the other retiree.
The other retiree. So it's a night of celebration for some. There will be a little bit of further conversation of the negative end with some other ends, but we'll start with a celebration of Dusty, and we'll have a look at his overall career to start with before we get into the real fun stuff of his September numbers. So this is since he's made his debut in 2010, so over a 15-year period. So 69 times he's had 20-plus disposals and 2-plus goals in a game. That's 10 more than any other player over the last 15 years. Gary Ablett is next. He's done it 59 times, and Danger is after that. He's done it 58 times. It's a significant gap between two walk-up Hall of Famers.
So how many was Dusty?
69 times. Okay. Gazza next at 59.
Right.
Ironically, the broken tackle stat started the year Dusty had come in to the competition. Right. So we must have got a bit of word that this is what he's going to be renowned for.
Yeah.
And that started in 2010. He's had 377 broken tackles over a 15-year campaign.
Yep.
The next most is Jack Viney on 213. It's 164 more than any other player over a 15-year period.
Harley Reid, can he catch him?
Harley Reid could catch him. Right. Harley Reid could catch him, but there's a long way to go to get to the great man.
Have you got this set on don't argues over his career?
The don't argues?
Yeah, make up most of them
make up the broken tackles. He's one-on-one stuff. So over the last 15 years, over his whole career, he's won 49% of one-on-one contests. The next highest player is 42%, Nat Fyfe. Dangerfield next at 41. 49% to 42%. It is outrageous how much of a better one-on-one player he has been over a 15-year
What would the average be for a player?
25%?
25, yeah.
So he's double.
So he's double there.
Close to double.
And those top three, most would have them as the top three players of the last 8-10 years.
Yeah, and then ironically, Tom Hawkins comes in at number 4.
Wow.
So it's Then you look at what he does when he's been a target inside forward 50. So when Richmond have gone to him over his 15 years, they've scored a goal 30% of the time. No other player's done that in 15 years. He's been the best forward 50 target in 15 years.
Give me your average for an average forward.
Average around about 18%.
Right.
So again, he's close to double.
Yep.
The returns that you get when Richmond have gone to him as a forward 50 player. Our AFL player ratings ironically started the year Dusty came in 2010. He has been he was the number one rated player on the ground for 5 consecutive matches at his peak in his 2020 final series to the start of 2021. Only Dangerfield has done that for 5 consecutive matches over a 15-year stretch. So only Danger and Dusty have been the number one rated player on the ground for 5 consecutive matches. Now we move to the fun stuff, and we did have a lot of fun doing this today in the back office. So we move to East Finals record, and we'll start with the grand finals.
Yeah.
So our ratings have been going for 15 years, as we said. His 2017 grand final comes up as the second highest rated grand final of all time. For comparison, Luke Shuey's 2018 grand final is miles ahead of anyone else. Dusty comes in at number 2. His 2017 grand final.
What was the number?
30. So to put this, to people that hear this, if you get a 15 AFL player rating game, that's an All-Australian type game.
Yep.
You get a 20, it's wow
Off
factor.
The charts, yep.
You get a 30, it's just, let's just go back and just keep watching that grand final or that performance over and over and over again. There might only be 4 or 5 or 6 times in a season you get a 30. So to get it on grand final day is ridiculous. His 2021 is interesting. So his 2020 grand final comes up as the 6th best grand final. But keep in mind that is with shortened quarters.
Okay.
So if you extrapolate that out to a full match worthy, that actually comes out as the second best grand final. That comes out to a 32 rated game. So and then his 2019 grand final comes out as the 12th best grand final. So those three grand final performances come out as the 12 best. Overall in finals, he has been the number one rated player on the ground 6 times in finals.
How many finals?
I think he's had 15 finals. No other player's done that. Just a little bit of credit to this as well. Side note, Jordan De Goey comes in next at 5.
Okay.
Fantastic big game performer. I'll just take you through his ratings in the 12 finals between 17 and 20, where we all remember Dusty at his prime. He's had one poor final out of 12, and that was the night where he couldn't walk against Collingwood, prelim final night, where they admitted afterwards he probably shouldn't have played.
Yep.
And you're watching the poor bugger walk around, he's hobbling. Leroy Green was thinking, this is the best tagging job of all time. I was the most nervous bloke in Australia, and I've rocked up, and he can't walk. So these are his ratings. His qualifying final in 17.
Bear in mind, 15 is an All-Australian rating.
So these are just his game ratings, where he actually rated on the ground for these games. Okay. He was the second highest rated player in the 2017 qualifying final. 2017 prelim against GWS, had to play a different role, almost played as a full forward. 6th highest rated player. 2017 grand final, number 1. 2018 qualifying final, number 1. 2018 prelim, we've just mentioned that, throw that in the bin. 2019 qualifying final, kicked 6 against Brisbane, 3rd highest rated player on the ground. The prelim against Geelong in 2019, 11th highest rated player on the ground. Grand final day, number 1. Qualifying final 2020 against Brisbane, they lose by 3 goals, 9th highest rated player. And now this is the best one. And then they're in a bit of trouble. They've lost their first final. Richmond don't do that. He wakes up and goes, number 1 in the semi, number 1 in the prelim, number 1 in the grand final.
Full house.
To just go whack, whack, whack and bring home a flag.
I don't think you're making Richmond fans feel particularly good about life at the moment here.
So, and I'll tell you, so the 20-plus ratings as we talk about, that is the wow factor. He has done that 8 times in finals. The next most is 5. Josh Kennedy, Joel Selwood and Paddy Dangerfield. He's miles ahead. And the 3 years that they've won a flag, 17, 19 and 20, in each of those prelims and each of those grand finals, he's had 20-plus disposals and 2-plus goals.
Yep.
The
greatest big game player.
It's stuff that you just celebrate, and you actually just get so excited.
Yeah.
Just having a conversation and talking about and remembering just how dominant this bloke was on those occasions. He's home and away stuff, and I get lethal throughout. The top 3 players of the modern era, and
who was Ablett, Buddy, and
Danger, and our ratings back that up.
Yep.
With those 3 as the best 3
over the season,
over a whole career, home and away and finals
together. Yep.
And Dusty would be he's in that top 10 category of all time. But you separate it out to finals, and as everyone would agree, and you'd be shocked if someone doesn't agree, you're not going to get something like that ever again. I hope we do, because if we get something like that ever again from an individual, God, I can't wait to watch that guy play some finals footy.
Well, a great celebration of Dusty from the smartest man in footy and the numbers from Champion Data. Great stuff there, Hoyne. But let's move on. The 7 main talking points.
I'm going to start with something a little bit different tonight, and it's not necessarily really heavy data driven, which could get yourself into trouble sometimes. But we're going to dabble in it a little bit. And I've titled it "Get It Done."
Yep.
I'm referring to it "Get It Done" matches. Right? So you look on Sunday just gone, 2 classic just get it done games. 3:20. Fremantle v Essendon. Had to be, get to Melbourne, get it done, get on the plane, get home.
Yep.
Doesn't matter how it looks. I don't really care how it looks. Just get it done. Fremantle don't get it done. Now their season in terms of a top 4 situation is now reliant on results going their way potentially.
Out of their own control.
Then you go to 4:40, down the road, Brisbane v St Kilda. We talked about St Kilda and their defensive profile at the moment and how they're going.
It was a danger game for Brisbane.
Get it done. Brisbane walk in, get it done in brutal style.
Yep.
Get it done, get home, get on the plane. Then you look ahead to this weekend. So the get it done games, they're not Brisbane v GWS where it's 2nd v 4. That's just a good game of footy. They're not Fremantle v Geelong on the weekend where it's it's
cutthroat
5 v 6, whatever it might be. It's the games where you just can't afford to drop it. So, and we'll talk about Port Adelaide later on. But Port Adelaide come to Melbourne Saturday night, MCG against Melbourne. Get it done. Doesn't matter how it looks.
I like this. This is good.
Get it done. We've spoken over the weekend about the Dogs and what they're doing, and everyone's talking about what they're doing. It's ridiculous what they're doing at the moment. They go to Adelaide Oval, 4-10, Isaac Rankin back in the team. We've spoken about Adelaide and how dangerous they are.
Yep.
Chris Scott mentioned at halftime in the coverage with UG on Saturday. They're a different team to the Hawthorn one with just personnel coming back.
Yep.
Get it done.
And they didn't get it done against Port Adelaide, the Bulldogs.
Don't drop it because you keep going as you are. There's every chance that you do finish top 4. Then you look ahead. There's only 2 rounds to go after this, as we know. Brisbane then come to the MCG against Collingwood next week, 4:40.
Yeah.
Love what Brisbane are doing. Flying. Get it done. Don't drop it to then undo all the hard work that you've done. Port Adelaide then have the showdown. Almost with Adelaide back. How much would Adelaide love that?
And Adelaide have got a good record against Port Adelaide.
Get it done. And then the reason why I talk about it, and people, and I know I'm strange, I know I'm different. The reason why I keep talking about
What
this
were the
is
judges
that
at
the classic example of this was 5 years ago, and I'm going back a little while, West Coast was sitting 3rd on the ladder after winning a flag in 2018 and had just played Richmond at the MCG on a Sunday arvo and lost by a goal in a cracking game of footy. And they were sitting 3rd, going back home to play Hawthorn.
Yep.
And we all looked and go, geez, they're in good nick. They're probably the main challenger to Richmond for the flag in 2019. Hawthorn, their final series was done. They were out of it. They did not get it done. And went from 3rd to 5th, campaign over.
And the wheels fell off.
And then correct. And they
Big
have
time.
not been the same side.
The
ever
centre bolt
since.
was sheared off. The whole lot came tumbling down.
They have not been the same side ever since. So I'm just looking at these games, and it just, I know we talk about this on the show. It's more how you play, and absolutely it is. But there's a time where you just got to get it done.
But when you just say that, when you think of the teams like the powerful teams of Geelong, of Hawthorn over the last 10, 15 years. That was what they did, wasn't it? They got it done. They won those games and they just banked them and they moved on. They didn't have to win by 10 goals, but they banked the 4 points and went on to next week.
And Kingy's mentioned with the Geelong model as well, when they were at their prime, that they really focused in on getting it done in the first 20 minutes and just killing it. And
I'll tell you what, they had to get it done in the last 20 minutes last week because they were in trouble down at the Cattery. With as soon as that decision went against Jeremy Cameron, they lost their way.
Game turned, didn't it, for 15, 20 minutes?
Yep, and then somehow they just found a way to get it done, and that's exactly what they did, which kept their finals campaign alive. But they've got some big games and big challenges coming up.
Yeah, no, they do. No more so than Saturday afternoon against Freo.
Okie doke, let's get it done. Let's move on to the medal.
Now, I'm not going to claim this one, G. This is all you. You threw the challenge a couple of weeks ago around establishing the Tom Hawkins medal. And then, ironically, we thought, well, today he's retired.
Yeah.
Timing is perfect to release the Tom Hawkins medal.
It's the Tom Hawkins medal bracket, the real Coleman bracket.
So we've got the John Coleman medal, which has been around. I don't even know how long the John Coleman medal's been around for. Yeah. So that's everyone knows that. The Tom Hawkins medal is going to accumulate goals and goal assists.
Direct goal assists?
Direct goal assists. So it's going to accumulate total goals and total goal assists to produce the Tom Hawkins medal.
And that is to celebrate Tom Hawkins, who has given away so many Joe the Gooses that I've seen other full forwards go around onto the left foot and just pad up their goal stats. I think it needed recognising, and I'm glad you've been able to come up with the numbers. So have you gone back in time?
We have gone back in time, G. So we've gone back 10 years. So we'll go the last 10 years.
Did you go in the DeLorean sort of back into time with Michael J. Fox?
So we've gone back. So over the last 10 years, Tom Hawkins sits on top of the Tom Hawkins medal with 658 goals and goal assists. It is 70 more than the next highest player, which is ironically his current teammate in Jeremy Cameron.
Right.
So these are the top 10. So Tom Hawkins miles ahead, 70 ahead. Jeremy Cameron comes in number 2. Taylor Walker, very similar sort of ratios in terms of goals to goal assists that Tom has got. Comes in number 3. Jack Riewoldt 4. Luke Bruce 5. Franklin at 6. Josh Kennedy at 7. So they don't have the goal assists anywhere near the goal assist as what Tom does and what Taylor Walker does. Charlie Cameron, Toby Green, and Tom Lynch round out the top 10 in terms of where that sits over the last 10 years for the Tom Hawkins medal. And then just to celebrate Tom, so these are his rankings. 2014 he was 4th, 2015 11th, 16 he was 6th, 17 8th, and this is when he got into his prime. 2018 he was 2nd, and then he went 1, 1, 1, 1, and last year he was 7th in the Tom Hawkins medal.
Yeah, fantastic. He's been a brilliant player, and I don't think he's ever been given the credit for how many goal assists he has, because as soon as I read his biog today, it was 693 goals, I think. And it doesn't do justice. And certainly at the end of his career, when the Hall of Fame is sitting there, they'll be looking at the goals and they won't be looking at the goal assists. And it actually dilutes some of his championship qualities.
And then you have a look at this year on the Tom Hawkins medal. So Charlie Curnow is actually number 1. Despite Jesse Hogan being number 1 on the Coleman medal.
Yep.
So Charlie Curnow 1, Jesse Hogan 2. There's a bit of a gap. Then Toby Green comes in number 3.
Okay.
So Toby Green comes in 3 because he's high up for score assist. Jeremy Cameron's there, Josh Tracy. Then a couple of just little ones on either side of the equation. So Dylan Moore's high up. He actually comes in at 7th on the Tom Hawkins medal because his goal assist numbers are high.
Where would he be on the Coleman medal?
Oh, he would be round about, 20 to 25.
Right.
Then Jake Waterman. So Jake Waterman's the other way.
Right.
So Jake Waterman's high up on the Coleman medal, and then he comes in below Dylan Moore on the Tom Hawkins medal. So he's had 48 goals, but only 6 goal assists. Then someone like a Ben King, 49 goals, 2 goal assists.
2?
Yeah. Harry Mackay, 45 goals, 6 goal assists. So they come a little bit lower down on the Tom Hawkins medal compared to where they currently sit on the John Coleman medal.
Can we get this officially struck by Champion Data?
We'll make a medal, won't we?
Yeah, we'll get a medal.
We'll make a medal. We'll go back. I'll go back to management. We'll talk about it.
We
might have an awards night. You've spoken about this.
Yeah, we need an awards night at the end of the year on your final show.
Yeah, we'll get him in. Do you reckon we can get Tom in?
We've got Macca's here. We'll get Tom in.
We'll get Tom in. We'll just get him to sit right here.
We've got Macca's, and we can add a little bit to their cappuccino with a dash or 2.
No, I like it. I'm sure Tom will be happy to come in.
Righto, moving on. We've had Get It Done. We've had the Tom Hawkins medal. Port Adelaide's next on the agenda.
So I heard Chad Corn speak yesterday, or it might have been Sunday, I'm not too sure when it was, around that they've got some selection decisions to make now. I think with Todd Marshall being available. And I reckon he's 100% spot on around this. So in my mind, you're a massive cricket fan, Whitey. You don't select 2 wicket keepers.
Correct.
I look at Georgiades and Marshall, and I think that you're getting 2 wicket keepers. You're getting the same player.
Georgiades' numbers have been massive since Marshall hasn't been in the
Correct.
team.
So Georgiades, I thought Georgiades had the potential at the start of the year to potentially be moved back. So his ratings on our system have been poor, really. Okay. But the reality, he's turned that around. Full credit to him, and he's actually in really, pretty consistent form at the moment. Todd Marshall this year is the 246th rated player in the comp. So he's not getting it done at the moment. And Asava going forward, I think has offered him something where his strengths are to compete, potentially take a contested mark. We're not massive contested marks, but just to be able to compete, get the ball to ground, and I think he offers more to you as a forward than what he does down back. And this isn't having a crack at Asava. This is the reality of the situation. So 5 of the last 6 games, Asava has not featured in the defensive 50. He's either been out through injury or he's played as a key forward. So when Asava has played as a back this year, Port Adelaide are 11th for points against. They have the 5th worst defensive 50 in the comp, and they're 11th at points conceded from stoppage. And you know my thing about stoppage. Stoppage is exposing your talent behind the footy or exposing your talent ahead of the ball. When Asava has not been down there, they are number 1 for points against. They have the 2nd best defensive 50 in the comp, and they're number 1 at points against from stoppage.
I think Asava's going to stay in the forward line for the foreseeable future on those numbers.
So if I'm looking at this, I think Asava is best as a forward to compete, crash packs, get the ball to ground, especially now if you're playing a few of these mids more forward of the ball, give them a chance at ground level. And I'm looking at Marshall going, okay, if you want to play Marshall, I'm more looking at it, what can he do behind the footy?
Yep.
Because Georgiades is the wicket keeper ahead of the ball, and I don't think you need 2 of them.
And you can't play Asava there.
Inside the forward. And I'm not playing Asava down back. Zirk Thatcher is actually getting the job done. He's reliable as a defender. I think he's more reliable than what Asava is. Ali is the star, and they've got a few things working behind the ball without Asava being down there. So I think Chad Corns is right in terms of the selection decisions. It'll just be interesting to see which way they go. And if you see Todd Marshall selected on the weekend, fascinating to see where he actually plays.
You want him down back?
I want him down back because I want Asava forward.
Okie doke, it's time now for the world famous Guess Who.
Guess Who. So the Guess Who today, we're going to go to the team aspect today rather than the individual aspect. This team across the season has been the 4th easiest team to score against off clearance. And I'll explain why I want to get into this in greater detail after the break. They have been the 4th easiest team to score against when the opposition has won a clearance. Who is that team? So over the whole season, who has been the 4th easiest team to score against?
So the question here is, Whitey, why has Hoyne come up with this?
Yeah, that's what I always think.
He's got something
There's always a
on the
reason,
liver.
Jack.
That's right, exactly
He's
right.
got something on the liver and he wants to get it off. So this is
right.
the way to assess that team.
Exactly. That's, as I said to you, often I'm listening in the car to this, and that's exactly the clue that I always try.
So I suspect it'll be one of the finalists, and there's one of the finalists that won 1 game out of 6. So I'm going with Sydney.
Well, that'd be fair. That'd be a reasonable guess, I would have thought.
There is a lot of Sydney off the temper tech. Sydney, Carlton, and GWS. And probably Geelong are the ones that are figuring the most of all these. And maybe Fremantle. There's a lot of text, it's fair to say. I went with Collingwood.
Collingwood. Unfortunately, both of you are incorrect. The temper text, Carlton is fair enough, but Carlton are actually not the 4th easiest. They're the 2nd easiest.
Yes.
To
There's that
score against,
discussion.
unfortunately, for the Blues.
So who's the 4th easiest? to
4th
score against?
easiest team is a mob that sits out west, and that is Fremantle Dockers.
There was a bit of Fremantle. One on Matthew.
So the reason why I want to talk about this is that we're getting towards a business, and you are what you are now. I think everyone goes, there's this ability to be able to flick a switch and you can change your profile, change the way you played. I think it's just complete nonsense. You are what you are. So a lot of their profile, Fremantle, is in really good shape.
Yep.
Really good shape. But this one issue, I think, is probably going to be the issue that's going to hold them back in 2024. And if Fremantle supporters, I think you just got to cool the jets a little bit. You are so young. On the weekend, you were the 3rd youngest team in the competition. I think where you're heading, where the list is at, what David Walls and his team have been able to do is superb to get this list going. So I think the future is bright. But in terms of where you are for 2024, this aspect I think is going to hold you back. So on the weekend against Essendon, for example, Essendon had 32 clearances and scored 15 times, scored 55 points. And clearly everyone knows, that centre bounce situation. At the end
One
of the day.
hurt them late.
But correct. One's killed them. But to concede 55 points, so to concede a score from every second clearance, AFL average is around about every 4 clearances you should concede a score. Against Hawthorn a couple of weeks ago, Hawthorn had 36 clearances, returned 53 points. Ridiculous return.
Hoyne, there's a person on the line. In fact, he's just dropped off. He's just texted through. His name's Julius Sumner Miller, and he's had a question. Why is it so?
So I think, as I keep talking to you about, the turnover game is your system. That's what you can orchestrate from the coach's box, and that's the most important aspect. The stoppage game exposes your talent because behind the footy, you've got, in my mind, you've got 10 to 15 seconds where you as a defender need to defend for your life as an individual before the system can then roll in and help you out, come over, support, all that sort of stuff. Behind the footy, that is where individually they can be exposed. They're quite young behind there. Unfortunately for them, they haven't really had the Pearce and Cox combination really at all. Only a handful of times this year.
Even less.
Yeah, and then so then they've got a couple of individuals where you can actually pinpoint and actually try and expose from that side of things. The reason why this is even a bigger concern is that they are going to feature in finals. The teams that are dominant in the raw clearance game, aside from Fremantle, Brisbane, Port, Dogs, Carlton and Sydney, top 6 in terms of raw clearances, and the best 5 teams in the competition at punishing from clearances, Port Adelaide, who will be there, Sydney, who will be there, Carlton, who will be there, Essendon, who might be there, and then Brisbane, who will be there. That's a weakness, I think, that will be exposed at some stage in September. I hope for Fremantle it's not, but I think the reality is that it will be exposed.
Okie doke, there's the world-famous Guess Who from the smartest man in footy.
We should give a bit of credit, Gerard, to JK from Perth, who also said Fremantle.
Might be all over it, JK.
And there was another one as well here. We've got so many messages. I apologise, but I'm trying to give a bit of credit to the ones that got it right.
Rightio, we'll move on to the flag favourites for many? The
flag
Dogs.
favourites for some, yeah, I think, and probably fair enough too. But I want to talk about the Bevo Strip Club.
The Bevo Strip Club. I like this.
I want to talk about the Bevo Strip Club.
Yes.
So they are doing something that is unique on the competition and needs to be recognised and needs to be studied by opposition teams coming for the next 3 weeks, but importantly over the September campaign. This is an ever, and we talk about an ever at Champion Data. We get the red cordial out and we start celebrating pretty hard.
Yeah.
They are minus 125 for first possession this year. So in terms of getting your hands on it first at stoppage, minus 125, one of the worst first possession teams in the comp. But yet they are plus 50 for clearances. So a swing between first possession to clearances of 175 is the biggest swing we have ever recorded in our 25 years of doing this. So what they are doing, the Bevo Strip Club, is stripping the opposition of the ball, getting it themselves, and exploding away from it.
I sense there's just a shade of disappointment from some who thought you might have been going somewhere else. But anyway.
Exactly. So just an example on the weekend, right, against Melbourne. They're minus 20 first possession. Yep. So Max, more often than not, is giving his midfielders first chance or they're winning it themselves.
Yeah.
The Dogs flip that around by 24 to win clearances by 4 themselves. So
who's the number one stripper in the strip club?
Well, we want to do a little bit of work on this. Okay. It might be Candy Bontempelli, or it might be whoever it might be. But the other thing I just want to put on the agenda is as well, you're coming up against the Dogs. Be prepared to hold on for dear life in the first 10 minutes of the first quarter and the second quarter. They hit you between the eyes. So this year, first 10 minutes of matches, they're plus 112 points on the scoreboard. Number 2 in the comp, only Brisbane are better. Then the next 10 minutes, they dip to minus 30.
Is that a rotation with a Bond off?
Potentially. And then it's the same in the second quarter. They're plus 81 in the first 10 minutes of second quarter, and then they dip to minus 76 points in the next 10 minutes. So think about what they did against Melbourne on Friday night. I think you were doing it. Yep. It was powerful.
It
was like, wow, how good. First 10 minutes against Sydney, it was, whoa. Where's that come from? First 10 minutes against Geelong, hit you between the eyes. Hold on for dear life. Be prepared to be punched in the face and hold on for that 10-minute period because you can get it back off the Dogs.
Okie doke. The Bevo Strip Club, I don't think it's the last we're going to hear of that one. I think it's going to be very strong through the September campaign. It'll be picked up by all media outlets and run with. But just those numbers, minus 1
25 for first possession.
But after the strippers get hold of you, plus 50.
For clearances. The
opposition
biggest swing
lose
we have
concentration of the strippers, Gerard.
That's right.
The biggest swing we have ever seen.
Swinging.
So
Nice. Okay.
That's one of your best, Hoyne. One of your best.
bit of fun, G. Bit of fun.
Okay, who we got next? We got the Pies.
Just want to celebrate an individual if we can at
Yeah.
Collingwood. So I've heard Craig McRae refer to this guy as the Swiss Army knife.
Yep.
That being Will Hoskin-Elliott. And I thought his game on the weekend was superb. To be involved in 11 scores, take the 4 marks inside 50, and really have a significant impact in such a tight game of footy. But just want to celebrate what he's actually doing this year, what he's probably done over the last 2 years. So if you're a Collingwood supporter, just take your mind back to his positioning last year. First 10 games of the year, he spends a third of his time on the wing and then 2/3 of his time as a forward. Then the next 10, 12 weeks, he spends best part of 85% of his time on the wing. And in that time, if you remember last year, G, we talked a lot about their defensive profile for a 2 or 3 month period being a real concern heading in. And Craig McRae, I remember hearing him speak after they won the flag last year, and he referred to this period where they lost 3 out of 4. He drove home and he thought, well, we have to change some things, but we're going to try and celebrate what we're actually doing rather than get too consumed about the defensive side of things and the negatives. We want to celebrate what we're actually doing. And he also then made one significant positional change, and that was putting Hoskin-Elliott to half back for the round 23 game against Essendon, or round 24, whatever it was, and for the final series last year. And in that 4-game period of their finals campaign and the last time, they were again rock solid behind the ball and became the defensive, juggernaut that saw them get to that top spot at the end of the home and away season. And then now this year, he's back to being this Swiss Army knife. So his last 5 games, this is what he's done. He's gone back to forward, to back, to forward, to wing, forward role on the weekend against Carlton. 5 games playing different position for 5 games in a row. And and you can talk to this better than myself and what that takes. I would have thought that takes a pretty special individual to be that flexible and adaptable for 5 consecutive weeks to play in 5 different positions on the ground.
And a full understanding of the systems in all areas.
In all areas.
Which is, I guess, testament to his brain power, Hoyne.
Yeah, so he's having his second best season over his last 6 years, and his 5 of his last 7 games, he's had some real significant impact to what Collingwood are actually doing.
So a tribute to the Swiss Army knife. We had strippers, or Swiss Army knife, and now we've got the bloke I think is the best defender in the game still.
Yeah, I think this bloke is the greatest shield since Matty Scarlett. We're talking Matty Scarlett, walk-up Hall of Famer. So 15 years, and that's Jeremy McGovern. So bit of a celebration tonight to start the show with retirees and Dusty and Tom Hawkins, and a celebration to finish with a guy that's still going and going as strong as ever. So McGovern, for those that didn't watch that game on the weekend against Gold Coast, so Edwards goes off concussed, who was playing on Ben King. McGovern wants to play his role across centre half back, goes off concussed. McGovern has to go to Ben King, play the lockdown role. Game on the line, the last quarter. I think you would have seen one of the more influential quarters you've seen by a key back to decide a game of footy than what he did on the weekend against Ben King in that fourth. And it just got me thinking, do we as an industry recognise and appreciate the significance and how good this guy has been? So
I think the answer to that is no.
So off our rating system, he is clearly the best key defender this year, and I am almost certain that he will not be, and he will not feature in the All-Australian team,
which is crazy,
this year. So these are his ratings. This is why we called him the greatest shield since Matty Scarlett. So in 2010, he's 10th. He's the 10th best player in the comp, which again for a key defender is unheard of. Then he's 13th, 5th, 3rd, 7th. And then over the last 3 or 4 years, he hasn't played enough minutes to qualify because he's been injured, his body's been banged up. And then again this year, as I said, he's the 12th best player in the competition this year. What he does with ball, from a ball use perspective, backs up the intercept work that he's done. So over the last 10 years, no one's taken more intercept marks than what this guy's done. No one's taken more contested intercept marks than what this guy. So it's not gifted to him. He's winning it back in a contest. He's one-on-one stuff. He's the 6th hardest person to beat in a one-on-one contest. And then he beats you. He wins the ball back off you 40% of the time. AFL average is 25% of the time in a one-on-one contest. He is the absolute complete key defender of our last 10 years.
Generation.
And, Alex, and I know a lot of Richmond supporters will probably throw up Alex rants, and fair enough. If Alex had probably played for a little bit longer, he probably would have been in a similar conversation to Jeremy, but unfortunately he didn't. This guy is clearly the best key defender of the last 10 to 15 years, and I hope he is recognised later on this year in all Australian conversations.
I'm conscious we've got to go to a break, Jared, but why doesn't he get the recognition?
Well, I think this year it would be simply because he's playing in a losing side. But this is where I think you've got to be a little bit more informed and have a look. I mean, I hear a lot of other names being put up, and maybe they don't watch West Coast Eagles games, some of these selectors, because it's impossible not to watch the West Coast Eagles game and be in awe of just how good an interceptor he is. But he's also probably the best distributor I think we've seen as a key defender in history. I mean, he is as good a kick as Ross Glendenning in a totally different game. Now you've got to penetrate through zones, and he is one of the best kicks in the competition.
His ball use won him a flag in 18.
Yep.
Dom Shee does not get that shot at goal if he does not pull off that kick back to Nathan Vardy with 2 minutes to go in a grand final.